Hi there, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to Reading Aristotle's Politics. We're continuing our examination of Book 7 of the Politics, the regime that we would pray for, the best regime, looking at Chapter 11 today. Okay, so let's continue. The city that it says right here, it says this, that the city should have access to mainland and to the sea, as well as to the territory as a whole as far as circumstances of law has been said earlier. Now, this is 55. This is again. This is chapter 7, book 7, chapter 5. Right. This is where he's dealt with that. As for the position relative to itself, one should pray to obtain this looking for four things. Now, 56 here is the text is some uncertain cryotentica is kata tinlichian rather than the conjectural versions kata tension. In other words, he's going to read it this way. He's going to read it with the manuscript rather than the annotation. Here is that therefore the four things. Like obtain this looking for four things. The first, as being something necessary, is health. Right. Those cities are healthier which slope towards the east and towards the winds that blow from that direction of the rising sun. Okay, so therefore, the healthy city, right? First is health, and of this, he says the healthiest city should be what? It should be sloped. The cities are sloped to the east, and the winds blow from the direction of the rising sun. Second are those sloping in the direction of the north. Direction the north wind blows. These have better winters. So these are two territories. This is things about why it's cities slope towards the east, and that or the winds are more gentle towards them. That in a sense, the rising sun. But this and the other one is that the wind from the north. These are better winters, right? Those are sloping in the direction of the north winds, as direction north wind blows. These are better winters. Of the remaining things, one should look to see that the city is in a beautiful condition, fine condition, with a view to political and military matters. Okay, so therefore, the city should look to again military matters. So, first is health, right? The health of the city, and he does two things about that there were better winters and location of this, right? And then that they should have the remaining things. They should have things. Now, what are the four things? He said, with a view to military activities, it ought to be ready to exist for the citizens. It ought to be ready of exit for the citizens themselves, but difficult for their adversaries to approach and besiege. Right. So military matters. The city should be arranged. So the first is the health, better winters, better climate. Right. The climate, and then it should be remaining for political and military matters. Right. Defining it. So that the arrangement of this, what they should have easy citizens exit, but hard to people come in. What it should have available a number of pools and springs of its own. But failing this, a way has been discovered to construct great and ample receptacles of rainwater, so that they will never run short when they're cut off from their territory by war. So therefore, access to water. They should be the pools, wells, like that, very access and number, but lacking that, they should have like receptacles of rainwater that should be collected, that they won't be cut off from water like this, right? Since one should take thought of the health of the inhabitants, this consists of the location being beautifully situated on the ground of this sort and towards an exposure of this sort, and second, in using healthy sorts of water and making this more and making this more than an incidental concern. In other words, make sure they have healthy water. Water is a good safety that they're going to consume it for the things for the things we use most of, and most often for the body, are what contribute most to health. And the capacities of water and winds have such nature. So water and winds. The water must be clear, not polluted, must be good quality, must be easy accessible, and that the winds that you must the question of two types of winds. The easterly winds are why does he say easterly winds? He says it's healthier, right? It's healthier with slope towards the east and towards the winds that blow from the direction of the rising sun. And the second is that to avoid harshness of winter, right? The sloping in the north direction, right? Wind blows, right? North wind blows. So therefore, this is kind of uh, of what's going on here. That winds and the waters are very much an issue for this, for the health of the city. And the arrangement of the city, whether they should be easy to exit and also have water and provisions that they can do for war military matters, right? They would just stand sieges and to survive being sieged intact. Hence, all sensible cities, if all the springs are not similar or of the sort that are not ample, the distinction should be made between those who are for sustenance and those who are for other needs. In other words, water must be good for sustenance that you're going to do, and then water for other needs. So therefore, you have to distinguish. You don't have if what he says if springs are not all similar or of such a sort that are not ample, then you have to make division. You have to divide between those who are for sustenance and those. This is a This is something that all sensible cities should engage in. With regards to fortified places, what is advantageous is not the same for all regimes. So, fortification. In other words, the question of fortification is tied to the question of the regime. For example, a fortified height is characteristic of oligarchy and monarchy. Levelness is characteristic of democracy. Neither of these are characteristic of aristocracy, but rather a number of strong places. Okay, so if there's a place at the high location, in other words, a fortified height, a high point. This is characteristic of oligarchy and monarchy. And where everything is level, this is democracy. And aristocracy is multiple fortifications, right? But rather a number of strong places. The disposition of private dwellings is considered more pleasant and more useful for other activities if it involves in other words, a disposition of private dwellings is considered more pleasant and more useful for other activities if it involves straight rows in the new manner of hippodamus, right? But if for safety in war, the opposite manner that prevailed in ancient times, for this made it difficult entrance of foreign troops and difficult for attackers to fire their way around, right? So therefore, 58 is hippodamus. The idea of hippodamus is the criticism of Book 2, the city planner. This is more convenient to have everything rolled like this. But the danger with that is that, but that's maybe that's not advantageous for war. The way they did war was make it difficult for foreign troops to come in here, right? Hence, it should share both of these things. So therefore, should be it should not be easy for enemies to come in there, but at the same time, it should be advantageous in the new manner. So therefore, it should be a balance of these things. If one institutes the sort of arrangement that among among farmers, some call clumps of vines, it is possible to avoid having the city as a whole disposed in straight rows. But for certain parts and places to be in this way, it will be in a fine, beautiful condition, with a view to safety as well as ordered beauty. Okay, so therefore, this idea of clumps, right? This idea of instead of straight rows, everything in straight rows. There's going to be, but rather like clumps of vines. Um, Note 60s. The stemma, usually meaning a close standing of vine plants, consists of 5 plants arranged alike in 5 spots of a die. Aristotle appears to suggest that houses could be grouped more or less irregular in this fashion in the city outlying parts, while large boulevards and public areas would be reserved for the protected center. So in other words, this is how it's going to look. In other words, uh, uh, this is why you should have both, but you should have the straight boulevards and this in the center, but into the frontier parts, it should be like the clumps of this 5 things he talks about, the rows of here. As regards walls, those who deny that cities laying claim to virtue have them overly old-fashioned should have them have overly old-fashioned conceptions, especially when they see these cities that have pretensions of that sort refuted by fact. Right, 61. This is allusion to Sparta and its humiliation by Thebes during the invasion of Epidamus. Right, in other words, those who think that they should have walls. In other words, overly old-fashioned. It's claimed in other words, those who deny that cities laying claim should have them, right? But again, this is why Epidamus easily destroys the Spartan cities. Spartans don't like walls, but this is what they maybe they should have walls. Okay, those who deny walls because it's saying that claim that cities lay claim to virtue should have them deny those people should have them. This is old fashioned. This is too Spartan. This is a Spartan. That the fact that Epidamus just conquered the Spartans, this makes them question that whether that's true. Okay, possibility it is not a beautiful, noble thing to seek preservation. In other words, possibly it is not a noble, beautiful thing, colossal thing to seek preservation from attackers who are similar and not much greater in number by means of fortification of walls. So, if there's, in other words, it's not a beautiful thing. If they're the enemy's similar to you, that you're going to hide behind walls. If they're similar in number, they outnumber you. They're similar in their a similar and not greater number by means of fortification. But since it happens and is always possible that the preeminence of the attackers is greater than virtue, that is only human and that is only human and resident in a few who make up the citizen body, the safest fortification of walls must be supposed to be what is most accords with military expertise. If the city is to be preserved and will not suffer any ills or be arrogantly treated, particularly given the invention of present um, uh, 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 particularly given the invention of present connection with missiles and machines for improved efficiencies in sieges. Again, this is catapults, battering rams, and movable towers were introduced to the Greek warfare by the Carthaginians in the course of their struggle with Dionysus and Syracuse. Philip of Macedon used them extensively, right? This is that, okay, you better have walls, but you have to understand machines are going to be there too. So therefore, if the city is to be preserved and not things that need to be, particularly given inventions as well for siege, to alleviate sieges. Why is this? Because the citizens are this regime is not going to be a large citizenry, and they're going to be the soldiers. So therefore, regimes who are made of larger may outnumber them in the battlefield, the soldiers. So therefore, maybe this city needs to have walls because of its how fewness of its numbers, right? But then if they do walls, they need to also take advantage of these devices. That's artisans. They're going to have to rely on artisans who know this stuff. But they can't be, the artisans aren't citizens. So again, this is going to be very interesting. To lay claim that cities do not merit having walls around them is like seeking to have the territory ready of access and mountainous places removed. It is, in other words, to claim that cities do not merit having walls around them is like seeking to have the territories ready of access and mountainous places removed. In other words, it is not. It is like not having walls for private houses on the grounds that all inhabitants will become unmanly. Okay, this is ridiculous. He's mocking it, right? This is mocking this. In other words, you have walls in private houses because to secure you from the thing. But man, if you're manly, you can do this. You're gonna. Here, he's saying that this is a ridiculous argument. This too should not be overlooked, Paul, that it is open to those who have walls around their city to treat their city in in either fashion, as having walls and not having them, while it is not open to those who do not possess them. So therefore, this is the question: that those who have walls can behave like they have walls, or they can behave like they don't have walls. If things stand in this manner, not only must there be walls around a city, but they should be taken care of in such a way that they should be in appropriate condition, both with a view to order and beauty, and with a view to military requirement, and particularly those that have risen most recently. Again, the question of avoiding the problems of the new siege machines and things like this. But not only they should be beautiful, maintained, in appropriate condition, but they should in order and beauty, but there should be military requirements to address the problems of new things. For just as the attackers pay attention to ways they can gain the upper hand, so in the case of defenders, something must be discovered already, while others should be sought out and investigated by them. Okay, this is interesting. 63, investigate, literally philosophizing about, literally, and ought to be philosophizing about them. In other words, you must be philosophizing about war, about defenses. Interesting. But artisans, but that's artisans. Artisans. These military devices, but artisans are not citizens. Weird in that sense. This is some for, in other words, that therefore the defenders must be discovered already, but while they should sort out and investigate these devices, these people who base devices by which the walls can be preserved and maintained. But devices, these are the artisans. This is, again, this is the story of the Greek philosophers like Archimedes and these who were, built these instruments, self-moving instruments, right? And missile devices, dart devices that defended. He was one of the principal. The stories about Archimedes and Protagoras' role in defending cities, right? Um, and for these philosophers who developed technologies. I mean, these Archimedes and then Pythagoras, right? These wise men who ultimately helped build, helped, um, devices in that sense that war machines, like Leonardo da Vinci, okay, Leonardo's and his war machines, right? Um, Again, this is for men will not attempt an attack in the first place against those who are well prepared. So if you know that they're well prepared, they're maintained, they've been philosophizing about concerned about the new devices to make them defended. In other words, you have to philosophize about the ways you can best defend your city, and encourage this. But this is again, this isn't this the artisan. But artisans, the city, there's no room for artisans in the city. So that's what's going on here. So we end chapter 11 with this weird point here about this, right? About the need for military virtue and the need for skills. This whole chapter about the fourfold things of this, where uh, health of the city, the winds, about the geography of the location, so that the best for the water and military affairs, right? This is the uh, 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 health, water, military affairs, and political affairs. It seems to be missing the political affairs, right? The political affairs, but again, the political affairs is tied to military necessity. And what is health? The health of the city. So this is where we end our discussion of chapter 11. It's a short one in that sense. If you have any comments or questions, please put them below. And about this chapter, if any issue or question you'd like to ask, um, um, please do it. I will respond to them when I see it. If you like the video, like it, share it with a friend, put it on social media, do like this, spread the news. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. If you are subscribed, encourage friends to subscribe that might do this. Get us again, spread the news and encourage people to join it. If you didn't like the video, you can thumb down it and say why. Tell me why. I can learn from it in that sense. Your criticisms, what I doing and how I'm doing it. Um, if you want to follow me on social media, the links are below. The links are below there. And if you want to help me out doing what I'm doing here, contribute. You can do it by becoming a member of Subscribe to our Patreon. Yeah, begging, man, begging. Give me some money, please. I can use some help with this. Honestly, I really could use some money, man. It was like I have to buy some. I have to edit something. I have to pay. I need to pay an editor, and I just don't have. It's expensive to do these things, and it's getting tiring. But I have to beg. A little bit of begging. Please, please, please. Another way you can do is buy the book. Buy my book. You want to help me? Buy my. You can buy my other books, of course. But if you want to help me directly, you buy my Lulu book. This is a notebook in Aristotle's Politics. This is a Cliff's Notes on the politics. This is not a commentary like the other books. And the book I'm working on now, this is a book that deals with looking at the politics from the point of view of students at various levels, both introductory level and like this. It helps you to come to terms with the text as a whole, but also book by book, chapter by chapter. It offers introductions in terms of summaries, outlines, charts, graphs, understand the various aspects of the text, get a better grasp of the text. It also has assistance for students how to like look at secondary scholarship and how to understand things. Again, this is like I said, Cliff's Notes, but it's like this. But it's not mere. It's pretty big. It's a very exhaustive book for what it's trying to do. It gives you a space to put notes, your own notes on it if you want to put things on it like this. It's not just all empty papers, but it's there after every book. After every book of the politics is a section that you put your own notes on it as well. So it's again, this is for use. Someone who's going to be using this and as a device to learn, as a uh, it's friendly in that regard. Um, on that, and it's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and other all online booksellers. You can probably get it. Um, but if you really want to help me, get it from Lulu directly because if you buy it by Lulu, I get the portion that the bookstores get, the profit the bookstores get. If you buy it by Lulu directly. So please order it. Order it. Of course, Lulu may shipping costs may be a little higher in that sense because Amazon those places give free shipping because this is not a, this is it's under $30, so it's not a cheap book. But I wish it was cheaper. But unfortunately, this is the size because it is a thick book. It is what it is. Maybe I should cut it. Maybe it was designed to be read properly and read effectively. So you can do this. Please do this. That's why get it for your friend. Get it for if you have got you bought your own copy, buy it for a friend. Buy it for a student, someone you know who's going to be studying politics. Um, there it is. Okay. On that, we will wrap up. Next time we meet, we'll do chapter 12 on this. Therefore, right now, take care. Goodbye. Have a good day. See you later. Bye bye.